Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and tonight on this Chiefs live stream, I have the luxury of bringing back Josh Fan. He's a contributor at Arrowhead Addict, and he also runs, why am I drawing a blank? ShowMeFootball.com, of course. It's been a long day, Josh, but in this video, we are going to give our predictions on the 2022/2023 NFL playoffs and give you our thoughts on all of these games because we're fortunate enough to have playoff football tomorrow. And I probably should have got this video sometime out earlier this week, but it's been a long week. So why don't we go ahead and start off with the NFC side of things and go off with the first slate of games. Now, what I'm looking at right now, it would be in the NFC. Do you want to start with San Francisco at Seattle or Seattle at San Francisco?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, so we all know Geno Smith. We all know the Seattle Seahawks. They traded Russell Wilson in the offseason, somehow got better, somehow were able to acquire all of those picks and still make the playoffs. Great story. Geno Smith should probably be comeback player of the year. I don't know who's in the running for that, but he was phenomenal this year. But I think that's kind of where your luck runs out. The San Francisco 49ers are a great team on both offense, defense, and special teams. They're on the road in San Francisco. I think that game could go very poorly. I have the San Francisco 49ers winning and advancing to the next round.
Yeah, man, this is tough because I think the San Francisco 49ers are one of the most well-rounded teams in all of the NFL this year. And they really struck gold with Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. He seems to be carrying them to the postseason. Seattle, I would almost want Seattle to win this game because then that takes a juggernaut in San Francisco out of the postseason early. And, if the Chiefs are theoretically to make it to the Super Bowl, then at least, there's not a potential for a 49ers matchup. And the 49ers are really good. So I'm not sure I would want to see them. Seattle, man, I want to say they have a little bit of a chance in this game, and Geno Smith works a little bit of his magic, but the Seahawks defense this year is like really, really bad. The only thing they have going for them is they were tied 9th in the league this year for takeaways. So maybe they can bait Brock Purdy into some bad throws, and Tariq Woolen, he's had a great rookie season for the Seahawks on defense. He can get some interceptions, maybe something like that happens and they could surprise some people. But yeah, it's tough to see anything other than San Francisco winning this game pretty handily.
Yeah, and I mean, the Seahawks had a great season, but nobody really expected them to be here. And I guess you could kind of make the same argument for San Francisco because they had two of their quarterbacks get hurt and Mr. Irrelevant is balling right now. But I think that all things considered, that team is just so great all around. The Seahawks just really don't have much of a chance in this game. So we both have San Francisco moving on to the next round.
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, one more thing I'll add about Seattle is that, I know it's great that they made the playoffs and it was fun how their playoff hopes lied on the Detroit Lions winning that Sunday night game. But the Seahawks barely beat the Los Angeles Rams, who were clearly mentally checked out for the season long, long ago. So yeah, I got the Niners.
Yeah, and our next matchup in the NFC is the 3-seeded Minnesota Vikings taking on the New York Giants, who are the 6th seed. The Giants are going to go to Minnesota. Now, could we have our first upset of the playoff bracket? The Vikings haven't been that great recently. I think I saw something that they have a negative point differential. The Chiefs have a negative turnover differential. They have a negative point differential, and they've somehow been able to win all these games. And they actually beat the Giants a couple weeks ago, but it kind of took some late game heroics and a field goal to bail them out. So I'm not sure if the Vikings can do that again. I think that the Giants are a really well-coached team. Daniel Jones is actually playing pretty good football. I didn't think I'd say that, but that team is looking really pretty good right now. And I might go with the upset here. I'm going to take the Giants. I think the Giants are a better overall team at this point. I like their coach, Brian Daboll, and I think that, the Giants probably aren't going to make much of a playoff push, but I'm really not confident in the Vikings whatsoever.
I actually think this is one of the biggest toss-ups of Wild Card weekend. I could see either team winning this game. I mean, the Vikings are 13-4. You think, oh yeah, they should win this game, but yeah, I mean, you talk about it. They had a negative point differential. They also, I think, led the league this year in one-score games, one-score wins rather. Um, we actually talked about them on the last video that we did, I'm pretty sure, and how some of their games. I mean, look at their last several games. They got blown out by the Packers, beat the Giants by 3 points, had that Colts comeback game, lost to the Lions, barely beat the Jets, beat the Patriots, got blown out by the Cowboys, who I don't think are very good either. And then there was that weird Buffalo game. Like, this Vikings team is just very weird. It's Kirk Cousins in the postseason. You know about Kirk Cousins on primetime. Then you have postseason Kirk Cousins. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. And yeah, I really like Brian Dable in this coaching matchup. He's done a great job with that Giants team. I think they've overachieved this year. I think he's made Daniel Jones. I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy in New York, but I think Brian Dable has made it to where it's kind of tough to justify just throwing Daniel Jones to the side. Like, I think you legitimately have to like keep Daniel Jones around and give him another year now. And I don't know. Dable's done a great job with that team. I'm going to be fun and take the Giants in this one. I want to say the Vikings prevail because they probably should win this game, but I'm just going to say F it and pick the Giants because I don't like the Vikings. You know, really, I don't see them going far in the postseason, even if they win this game. And an upset would be fun. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Giants. And I don't trust the Vikings. I mean, you look at their games this year, and they're just a very inconsistent team, and they win a lot of these one-score games. And we talked about it. You know, when you're winning so many one-score games, eventually it's not going to go your way.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what my thought process is that I just don't trust the Vikings. Now, I don't really trust the Giants that much,
Right.
but out of both evils, I think that the Giants are probably the team that's going to get it done. It's going to be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised remotely if the Vikings won, but I mean, Kirk Cousins, we've seen him in primetime and he's not great. And in the big moments, he kind of falls up short. And I think that the coaching staff of the New York Giants, along with that defense and Saquon running the football, and like we talked about Daniel Jones, he's at a point where like you kind of have to keep him around just to see what he could potentially be. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be anything remotely special, but you don't know. Brian Dable has turned him into something that, you know, you're intrigued to see what the result could be. So I think that the Giants, go ahead.
He's turned him into a capable quarterback, and a quarterback that I think like if he were to hit the free agent market, that multiple teams would be inquiring about him to be their starter. So, yeah.
So I think that we're both going with the Giants in this game. Again, not much parity between our picks, but I think that we'll get there soon. So we have for the next game, the 4-seeded Tampa Bay Buccaneers somehow have a home game, and they're playing the Dallas Cowboys. You know, I saw something that Tom Brady has never lost to the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. Weirdly enough, I don't think that's going to change.
I actually thought it was Tom Brady has never lost to the Cowboys, period. I could be wrong on that.
Actually, yeah, because he's 6-0, or maybe it was 8-0, but he hasn't lost to them. I think. So we'll split the difference. But I don't think he's lost to them in the playoffs, and I don't know if he's lost to them in the regular season either. But I just don't trust the Cowboys. It's like this every single year. I feel like they get so hyped up. Their coaching staff is just not very good. Dak Prescott, I mean, I remember kind of jumping on LaShawn McCoy for calling him ass, but I mean, Dak Prescott has not been very good recently. The defense has kind of been carrying, which is something that we're not used to seeing from the Cowboys, but I just don't think that they're playing very good football right now. They're kind of like the Chiefs in a sense, but I feel like they peaked and then they've just been on this downward spiral and they've never been able to pick it back up. So I do think that Tom Brady's going to luck into yet another playoff victory. And I don't think this is going to be a blowout by any means. I think Tampa Bay is really, really struggling, but the GOAT's at home. And I think that it would be foolish to pick otherwise because he usually wins these games 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10. Tom Brady doesn't lose in the first round. He doesn't lose to the Dallas Cowboys, and he sure as hell doesn't lose at home. So I'm picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I regret to say that.
Yeah, I also got the Buccaneers in this. game for many reasons. I mean, the Cowboys, I saw these two teams play earlier this year. Now, it was very early in the season. I think it was actually the game that Dak Prescott had his initial hand injury this year, but the Cowboys just could do nothing on offense versus the Buccaneers. And on top of that, you now have a Dak Prescott that just cannot stop throwing interceptions. And the Buccaneers, even though they've been disappointing this year, it's mostly been because of their offense. Their defense is still one of the best in the league, though, personnel wise. And I think they give Dak Prescott and the Cowboys a lot of problems. I think this will be a slugfest. And I think Tom Brady and the Buccaneers will ultimately come out on top because, I mean, Tom Brady, he's 7-0 versus the Cowboys. He finds ways to win these games. He has the playoff experience, and you just know Tom Brady is going to get a little bit of that officiating luck too because he's Tom Brady. And I just don't see a world where the Cowboys win this game. I mean, I would like to see them win this game just so I can be done with the whole Tom Brady thing. This year, but
You cut off a little bit towards the end, but I'm just going to roll with it. You're picking Tampa Bay, correct?
yes.
Okay. So we both have, what would that be? A San Francisco versus New York Giants and a Philadelphia versus Tampa Bay in the divisional round of the NFC playoff picture. Why don't we start off with the San Francisco 49ers against the New York Giants? The Niners will be at home for this game. You know, we talked about Daniel Jones and Brian Dable. I think this is where their luck runs out. They were really ahead of schedule in terms of making the playoffs. I think they picked top 10 last year. The fact that they were able to be in this position is a miracle, let alone by itself. But I think the San Francisco 49ers, even with Brock Purdy, they're a better coach team. They have more talent on defense, more talent on offense. And I just see San Francisco winning this game. They're going to be a tough team to beat. And I don't think that the Giants have the personnel or the coaching to take down the San Francisco 49ers, especially on the road.
Yeah, this is where the Giants feel-good season runs out and it ends. The Niners, I think, would annihilate the Giants in a playoff game, especially at home. I just don't think much needs to be said about that one. I mean,
you had a good run, Giants. You had a really good run. You won a playoff game. But go ahead.
No, you want to see Brock Purdy in the postseason before you start picking the 49ers to run through the NFC. Because Brock Purdy hasn't been perfect. He's been great and a nice, pleasant surprise for the 49ers, but obviously the playoffs is a different beast. But it's not also like the Giants and Daniel Jones have a bunch of playoff experience either. So I think that kind of makes the 49ers the easy pick.
The problem is I just don't think the NFC is that great. I think that there's a couple teams, but besides that, it's really not very good this year. But that also could mean that a surprise comes out of the NFC, but I don't think that's going to happen, at least in the early rounds. So we both have San Francisco advancing to the NFC Championship game to face the winner of the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady, a rematch of last year's playoff game where the Bucs beat the Eagles in Tampa. This time, Tom Brady and the Bucs go to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Do we know Jalen Hurts' status by any chance?
I saw a report that he was practicing, but he wasn't, he was at the Eagles had a practice and he was there, but he was not throwing. I think that injury, I think that injury is probably a little bit worse than the Eagles are willing to let on, but I think he's ultimately going to play in the game. But
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you right now, if the Philadelphia Eagles do not have Jalen Hurts at quarterback in this game, you just gave Tom Brady another NFC Championship game appearance. I don't know what to say. This man gets so freaking lucky every single year and somehow is going to have a chance to go on the road. Philadelphia is not an easy place to play by any means, but we saw what the Eagles were like with Gardner Minshew at quarterback against the Saints. We saw what that was like. This is Tom Brady. This is the GOAT we're talking about. He will somehow find a way to do just enough to beat a team that's struggling. And right now, the Eagles do not have a lot of momentum. And that's kind of why I asked, do we know Jalen Hurts' status? Because he's probably going to play in this game, but I don't know how well he's going to perform in this game. I mean, he's got that shoulder injury. If you can't throw the football, that's another really good advantage that Tom Brady can utilize.
Yeah, I actually pulled up this article real quick from Bleeding Green Nation, the Eagles SB Nation site, and I'll credit him, Brandon Lee Goat, and he wrote this article. It says Jalen Hurts throws at practice. This was today. Lane Johnson, his teammate, says he will play, but I was right that during the media attended portion of Thursday's practice, Hurts was seen throwing, but he wasn't earlier in the week. But yeah, he'll play, but obviously the injury is still a factor.
Well, you got to think about it. It's another week. I'm going to assume that he plays and that he's not abysmal, and I'm going to pick the Eagles. But I would not be surprised if he doesn't play, or if he does play and he's clearly not ready. If that's the case, Tom Brady's going to another NFC Championship game. But for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to pick the Eagles to get the job done and go to the NFC Championship game. That's all assuming that Gardner Minshew is not the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's basically what I think.
Yeah, like if Jalen Hurts plays, honestly, regardless of his health status, I'm picking the Eagles because their offense was third in the league this year. They averaged 28.1 points per game. And if you look at the offensive rankings across the league, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were 17th. They averaged less than 20 points per game. I just don't know how they're going to keep up with the Eagles. And the Eagles have a very entertaining defense to watch. They led the league in sacks this year with 70. I think, did they break the sack record? If not, it was really close. And the key to beating Tom Brady is getting pressure on him. And there's no better team than the Eagles at getting pressure on the quarterback this year. So I think this is a really bad matchup for the Buccaneers. Obviously, yeah, if Jalen Hurts plays and he's abysmal in this game, then it could be a lot closer. It could be a little scary. Tom Brady could squeak one out because it's Tom Brady. But I just think all signs point to the Eagles winning this game, even if Jalen Hurts isn't 100%, as long as he's fine, as long as he's still running the ball like he's been able to do all year long. I don't think the Buccaneers have a shot in this one.
Would you say that if Gardner Minshew plays, you change your answer, though?
Maybe. I don't know. Even if Gardner Minshew plays, I don't know, man, because the Eagles, they got a lot of talent. Okay, there's a good offensive system in place there by Nick Sirianni. I still don't know if the Buccaneers could put up enough points to beat them.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I just don't want to see Tom Brady in another NFC Championship game. Bottom line, I do not want to see that. So I think we both have the Eagles winning this game. I think that Tampa Bay could win it, but only if Jalen doesn't play. So that means for our NFC Championship game, we have the San Francisco 49ers going on the road to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Winner goes to the Super Bowl. This is going to be an insane game. Like the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Eagles are both playing pretty good football right now. Mm-hmm. But, and this is kind of where we get into the question, can you trust Brock Purdy in the playoffs? Because we don't know. We literally have no clue what Brock Purdy is capable of doing.
Yeah.
My gut is telling me San Francisco. But I don't know if I can pick San Francisco because I don't know if Brock Purdy can beat Jalen Hurts on the road in an NFC Championship game. I just don't know. But I think that I'm going to end up picking this 49ers just because I think their coaching is better. We've seen what Shanahan's been able to do with all three quarterbacks in that system. The defense is still the best in the NFL. That offense, I mean, George Kittle, you added CMC mid-season, and he's been really good, and I did not think he was going to be this good, but CMC's been phenomenal. You got Deebo Samuel. I mean, that offense is insane, and Brock Purdy's just kind of the piece that you put in, and it makes it all flow. But again, I don't know what we're going to get from him in the playoffs, but I'm going to pick San Francisco to win that game and advance to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think I'm with you because we saw Kyle Shanahan make the Super Bowl a few years ago with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. And the reason he's able to do that is because the 49ers are so good at running the ball. We know the Shanahan run scheme is very hard to stop. He runs a lot of zone running plays. And you got Christian McCaffrey now, who had a great season with the 49ers. A lot of people hated on that trade. And look, they did give up a lot, and I think they'll regret the trade later on down the line, but it was a great win now trade, which is what the 49ers are trying to do. They were trying to win now. Christian McCaffrey looks great with the 49ers, and Brock Purdy, he's shown you enough that, like, hey, you can throw a little bit. Like, I think Kyle Shanahan a few years ago during that 2019 playoff run, he hid Jimmy Garoppolo in that offense as much as possible. Like, I remember they beat the Packers with Jimmy Garoppolo only throwing like 5 passes or something like that the entire game. With Brock Purdy, this offense is it's a little bit more multi-dimensional, and they're going to be really hard to stop. And the Eagles, as much as they've been great this year, as much as they've been fun to watch, and they have a lot of talent on that roster, their strength of schedule this year was one of the worst in the league. Like, I think they ranked 28th in strength of schedule. They had a very cakewalk schedule. They blew out teams that just were not very good. The 49ers are a very good team, though, and they have a very good defense. And if there's a team that can beat the Eagles, it is the 49ers in the NFC Championship. You also have more guys on that 49ers team that are also experienced in the playoffs, and George Kittle and Deebo Samuel. The Eagles are still a very young team. There's a lot of players on that team that have never tasted anything like this before, including Jalen Hurts. And then, of course, Jalen Hurts' health status could still be up in the air for this game. So I would take the 49ers against the Eagles as things stand right now.
So we both have San Francisco competing for another Super Bowl. Let me play some devil's advocate here. Let's say Tom Brady somehow, some way beats the Eagles in the divisional game. Do you think there's a snowball's chance in hell that Tom Brady versus Brock Purdy could somehow go in Tom Brady's favor? Is there any chance that's possible?
Yeah, if Brock Purdy became like a turnover machine. But I think the Bucs are done. I think Tom Brady's done. Like, yes, I do have a tiny bit of fear that like Tom Brady could make this postseason run, and I think he's definitely going to beat the Cowboys. But I don't think there's much hope for him after that.
I agree. I've seen that man. I couldn't believe that they got to the Super Bowl when we played them. Like, yeah. I don't know how they were able to get that far, but they did. And Tom Brady just had a divorce. If there's any reason to go out there and play mad, he's got all that incentive to do so. So
the crazy thing is, if you remember I think that year Taylor Heineke was starting for Washington in the wild card round, and they nearly took down the Buccaneers. They nearly beat Tom Brady, and then they somehow made it to the Super Bowl and blew out the Chiefs.
But we both have San Francisco moving on. And now to the fun side of things, the AFC playoff picture. Why don't we start off with the potential matchup for the Chiefs? No, why don't we start off with a matchup that could go very south very quickly. The Miami Dolphins, led by Skylar Thompson, are going to Buffalo to play the 2-seeded Bills this weekend. This game will be over minutes into the second quarter. I think the Bills are going to blow the doors off the Dolphins. Yeah. Skylar Thompson was all right at K-State, I guess. And that's not just the KU fan talking. Like, he was all right, but there was a reason that he was, a 6th or 7th round draft pick. And there's no chance that they're going to win this game, right?
I wish I could say there was, because it'd be awesome to see the Dolphins knock off the Bills. And I was so hoping that Tua could somehow come back for this game. But
Tua needs to relax. He's going to be out of the league in 2 years.
Well, see, I would even give them a slight chance if they had Teddy Bridgewater for this game. But there was a tweet from a Dolphins account, and I'm trying to find it. And they tweeted out some Skylar Thompson numbers, and they were really bad. I wish I could find it. But basically, he ranked really bad when it came to like EPA per play, passer rating, all that stuff. So and I know he hasn't played very much, but can you honestly see Josh Allen and the Bills losing to Skylar Thompson and the 500 Dolphins in the first round? No, I wish I could say there was a chance, but no, not really. I mean, honestly, I would be more interested in seeing Tyreek Hill play the Wildcat all game at QB for the Dolphins than Skylar Thompson. I think they'd have a better chance of winning if they did that.
What's the worst that could happen? I mean, it's your final game. I wish I could pick Miami. I just have this really bad feeling that this game's going to be over in the second quarter, and they might sit Josh Allen at halftime. It could go very south very quickly. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I want the Dolphins to upset the Bills, but realistically, I just don't think that's possible. So we both have the Buffalo Bills advancing and the Dolphins falling. The next game, a potential Chiefs matchup, has the Los Angeles Chargers going to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. Now, you know how you said that Minnesota and New York was going to be the most toss-up game? I think this could be the most toss-up game. We saw the Chargers. Go ahead.
Real quick, sorry to cut you off in the middle of talking about that game. I did find the tweet real quick, and I just wanted to put it out there. Skylar Thompson, he ranks 45th in total QBR, 27.3. He ranks 46th in completion percentage, 57% completion percentage. He ranks last in yards per attempt, and he's also tied last in the league with TD interception ratio. He's thrown double the amount of touchdowns, or thrown double the amount of interceptions than he has touchdowns.
It's not looking good, Chiefs fans. It's not looking good. But I think that, you know, Jacksonville versus Los Angeles is going to be the most toss-up game. We saw the Chargers foolishly play their starters in that meaningless Week 18 game against the Broncos. Mike Williams is going to be out because Brandon Staley thought he was this genius. He just lost one of his wide receivers for this game. And honestly, I really like the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game. Their coaching is light years better. Trevor Lawrence is playing better football than Justin Herbert. I think that defensively the Jaguars are better. I think that, you know, the Chargers are a good team, but when it really matters, when have they won? They don't win when it matters. And I think that Jacksonville has a lot of momentum. They've won like their last 7 or 8 games, or maybe it was 5 or 6 games, to steal their division back from the Titans. I think Jacksonville is the team to beat right now, and I don't think the Chargers are going to do that. Give me Jacksonville in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Jacksonville. I think Doug Peterson is a miles better coach than Brandon Staley. The Jaguars are hot right now. Trevor Lawrence is playing great football. And the Chargers are the Chargers, man. I mean, I don't trust them. And then they don't have Mike Williams. And I saw a tweet earlier today from someone on Chiefs Twitter that highlighted the reliance that the Chargers have on Mike Williams on third down this year. And now he's not going to be there for that playoff game. Like, the amount of fades that they throw to Mike Williams on third down is incredible. And they're not going to have him for that game. And also, Adam Schefter tweeted that he would be out for the next several weeks, actually. So barring a Super Bowl run, the Chargers are pretty much without Mike Williams for the rest of the year, no matter how far they make it. Really, I mean, I don't really expect them to make it past this game. I think the Jaguars are going to win this one. They embarrassed the hell out of the Chargers earlier this season, and that's when they weren't even playing that good. And yeah, I think this might be Brandon Staley's last game as Chargers head coach.
Would I be surprised if the Chargers won this game? No, but I just think that Jacksonville is playing better football as of late, and that's why I just feel like I have to pick them. So that would lead to the next game where the Cincinnati Bengals are playing at home against the Baltimore Ravens. We don't know who the Baltimore Ravens quarterback is. Who is it? I genuinely don't know.
I think Tyler Huntley was throwing at practice for them, so I think there's a chance it's him. I'm going to look it up real quick, actually. I think he has a good chance to play, though.
Regardless, it's not Lamar Jackson.
No, yeah, it's not going to be Lamar Jackson. It'll probably be Tyler Huntley, though.
I don't think that really changes the outcome of this game. I think Cincinnati might beat the ever-living crap out of the...
Oh, yeah, no, I have Cincinnati. And honestly, what do you think about the whole Lamar Jackson situation? Because some people think that it really is truly contract-related, and some people think that he's just actually still injured. But it's been, what, 30... It'll have been 38 days or something since his initial knee injury.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that he's definitely still banged up, but I think that if he had that bag that, you know, the Ravens just paid Roquan Smith, what, $100 million over 5 years? Like, yeah. I think that if he had that contract, I think he would be a lot more eager to push his chances at playing in this game. I don't really blame him. I mean, he's done just about everything you could possibly do to get paid, and he hasn't gotten paid yet, and I don't think the Ravens are going to pay him. And honestly, if I was in a situation, I don't know if I would play. Like, playing in this game, there's no guarantee you win. And even if he does play on an injured knee, what is that going to do for him financially? The Ravens are already probably not going to pay him. So why are you proving to another team that you're worthy of getting paid when you've already proven it? And I don't think that they're going to win this game, even if he does play. So I think that it's okay that he's being kind of selfish about this, but I do think that a lot of it is contract related and not so much the injury, but I can't really fault him for that.
Yeah, I think he's definitely still banged up a little bit, like you said. I just think he's sitting at home and he's thinking, why would I play in this game? With all the reasons you just mentioned. And I think the Bengals would win either way, really, because I think the Bengals are the far superior team. The Ravens' top receivers are Demarcus Robinson and Sammy Watkins. I don't feel great about them. The Bengals' defense has improved a lot this year. They're a good defense, and I don't see a way the Ravens win this game. It's such a shame that so many games this wild card weekend, there's just so many teams that just have zero shot. You'd like to see some better matchups, but we were kind of robbed of that with a lot of the injuries and stuff like that. So it sucks.
We both have Cincy. Like, I think Cincy's going to beat the doors off of them. So that would lead to a Cincinnati Bengals versus Buffalo Bills divisional round game. A game that would be very entertaining, a rematch of a game that never got played. And I think that we are going to get to see the result that we would have seen in that game. I think Cincinnati is playing unbelievable football right now. I think that they will beat the Bills. I really believe that it doesn't matter if that game is in Orchard Park, if it's in Cincinnati, if it's at a neutral site. I think that Cincinnati is just a much better and a much hotter football team than Buffalo. And something about the Bengals, man. I'm taking them to win this game and go to another AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think most Chiefs fans are all wanting Buffalo to come out of that game, but I just think Cincinnati is a really good team, and I think they would have won that game before DeMar Hamlin unfortunately got injured. I like their chances in that game. They were driving on that play in which that injury happened. There was a good chance they go up 14-3 and then probably have a really good chance of winning that game. And the Jamar Chase is still damn near impossible to stop. The Bengals offense is better this year. Their offensive line is better this year. You can't just penetrate their offensive line anymore like the Titans were able to last year in the divisional round. When the Bengals beat them, because I remember Joe Burrow got sacked like 9 times and the Bengals still won that game.
So bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
And yet the Chiefs got 1 sack on him the entire game, so that was pretty pathetic. But yeah, I got the Bengals, and I just think the Bills, they've lost pieces that if they had them, that they would be able to win this game maybe, or they'd have a better chance. Like not having Von Miller for this game, that's a really big deal since he's out for the year for the Bills. And that was a player that I thought really tipped the scale for them. And now that he's out for the year, and who was the other safety? I always get him mixed up.
Micah Hyde.
Yeah, Micah Hyde. I mean, he's out for the year, so I got the Bengals. Yeah. I think
would I be surprised?
To the AFC Championship.
Would I be surprised if Buffalo won? No, I wouldn't. They're at home. I think that Buffalo's still a really good team, but I'm not betting against Cincinnati. I'm not right now. So that would lead to the other AFC divisional matchup, the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Jacksonville Jaguars in a playoff game. Who would have ever thought that would happen? Yeah. And I think that this is going to be a good game. The Chiefs had a week to prepare, 2 weeks off. I guess 1 week off, but I really do think that the Chiefs are going to handle business against the Jaguars. We saw them play this game at Arrowhead like less than 2 months ago, and the Chiefs won like 28-17 in a game that really was never in question. You kind of knew what the outcome was going to be. It wasn't a blowout by any means, but it was a comfortable win.
They also turned the ball over like 3 times in that game and still won by double digits.
Yeah, because there was a pick, they fumbled, Pacheco fumbled, and then like they had another fumble on the kickoff. So like there was, well, okay, first of all,
Doug Peterson went with an onside kick at the very beginning of the game, and the Eagles recovered. There was a Jody Fortson fumble on a kickoff, I remember. The Pacheco fumble. And then I want to say there was also a Mahomes interception, too, in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say that too. And we
So,
still won pretty comfortably.
yeah, turnovers galore, and they still won by double digits.
Yeah. So as long as they don't turn the ball over 6 freaking times, I think that as long as they play a semi-decent game, they should beat Jacksonville. And I don't think it should be particularly close. It probably will be because it's a playoff game, but let's be real. The Chiefs are just by far and away a better team.
Yeah, I think this moment, don't get me wrong, Jaguars are an up-and-coming team. I respect the hell out of Doug Peterson, but this moment's going to be too big for them, and they're not there yet. I mean, it's been a good season for them. You know, you got to be happy for Jaguars fans because they haven't had anything like this in a very long time. They went from going 2 wins with Urban Meyer last year to being in the postseason with a shot with Doug Peterson, and they have a very good chance of winning their first playoff game in a very long time tomorrow. Or not this weekend. I forget if they play tomorrow.
I think it is tomorrow.
But yeah, this weekend or tomorrow, if that is true. So yeah, I like the Jaguars, but the Chiefs should win this game 9 times out of 10. I mean, maybe you have a game where the Chiefs, like, they do turn the ball over a bunch and the Jaguars steal one, but Chiefs win this game 9 times out of 10. You obviously have to leave the door open just a little bit because the Chiefs had those turnover problems all year, and like we joke about it, but they got to prove in the postseason still that they can kind of calm those turnover problems.
So that would lead to a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. The Cincinnati Bengals would come to Kansas City to play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. No neutral site. The Chiefs would be at home for this game. And I don't know about you, Josh. This game scares the ever-living shit out of me. Yeah. I think that the Bengals are playing great football right now. I'm terrified of the Bengals. They've beaten us 3 consecutive times. No part of me wants to play the Cincinnati Bengals. If you're picking one team that we could avoid throughout this entire playoff bracket, it's the Bengals. I want no part of them. But at the same point, you got to beat the best to be the best. And the one fortunate thing about being the 1 seed is you're not going to have to play both Buffalo and Cincinnati. You're only going to have to play one of them, assuming that one of them gets to the AFC Championship game. So, man, this is going to be a tough game. We saw the Bengals just barely beat the Chiefs again in Cincinnati earlier this year. I think this game would be very close. I think that both offenses are much, much improved, but it's going to come down, like in all of their matchups, who makes the bigger play or who turns the ball over at the wrong time. We've seen this happen for the past 3 matchups, and it's that one turnover that always bites them in the ass, and that could be the difference between going to a Super Bowl or going home. So, although I'm not confident in this pick, I'm by no means hammering down. If you have a chance to bet on this game, I would steer clear. I'm not betting on this game. In fact, if I was betting on this game, I'd probably bet on the Bengals just because I don't know if I could cope with betting on the Chiefs and then the Chiefs losing.
I would say if you're a Chiefs fan, you should bet on the Bengals because if the Chiefs lose, then you're happy because the Chiefs won. You know, F the bet. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And then if the Bengals win, you're sad that the Chiefs lost, but you won a little bit of money.
Against my fear, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I think that there's got to be some point where Patrick Mahomes says enough and puts his foot down and the Chiefs win this game. I hope it's this year. I don't know if I can live with myself if we choke away another AFC Championship game. And we'll probably talk about this.
And it would be at home again, too. It would be another AFC Championship game at home because there's this whole thing about how if the Chiefs face the Bengals, it'll be 5 straight AFC Championships at home hosting. And if you have a losing record in those AFC Championship games, that's going to be real bad. Like, because the Chiefs are 2-2 after last year's AFC Championship game. If you have a losing record in this like little, I mean, it's not a dynasty, but this like dynasty, I guess, that the Chiefs are attempting to have. If you have a losing record in the AFC Championship game, that's going to be really tough to stomach.
Yeah. So we'll probably talk about it after you give your pick, but I think the Chiefs are going to finally slay the dragon that is the Cincinnati Bengals, win this game, and advance to Super Bowl 57 down in Arizona.
Yeah. I'm not going to not pick the Chiefs. Yes, just like you, I'm scared as hell of the Bengals. They definitely play physical, and they do a lot of things that kind of throw the Chiefs off their game, and they're not afraid to get in their face. They just, like I said, they play really physical. We talked about this last time we discussed these two teams facing off, and like Travis Kelce, he has a hard time against the Bengals because they push him around, and if the refs aren't really calling it, then they're going to get away with some stuff. And they just, I know it sounds cliche, but the Bengals have that dog in them that I don't know if the Chiefs necessarily have all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can agree with that because we've seen it. Like the Chiefs, they get spooked by the Bengals. They have several times now. And I think eventually, though, one of these games has to go the Chiefs' way because all these games that the Chiefs have lost to the Bengals in recent memory, they've been all one-score games, and they've all been games in which the Chiefs had the lead in the fourth quarter, and then they ended up losing the turnover battle. So if the Chiefs can win the turnover battle in this game, I think that's really the story of the Chiefs season, the story of this Chiefs postseason. If they can win the turnover battle, they are winning all of these games, okay? If they win the turnover battle, they will beat the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm going to pick them because I have faith that they can do it, but I'm still scared as hell, just like you are.
Man, honestly, there would be something more special about going to the Super Bowl this year after beating the team that has won the last 3 matchups and beat you on your home turf last year. I think if the Chiefs were able to finally conquer that demon and go to the Super Bowl by beating Cincinnati, I honestly think it would mean more. I think that would mean a lot to the city. And I think that the ramifications of losing a game to the Bengals would be pretty detrimental because at what point do they just get in your head and you just can't do anything about it? Like every time you face Tom Brady, at least back when he was in his prime, you're like, damn, man, we're going up against Tom Brady, like the greatest to ever do it. Like you begin to doubt yourself. And that's the last thing that I want the Chiefs to do. And a loss to the Bengals here, I don't even want to think about what that could do for the future.
Yeah, if you lose to the Bengals and you're looking at Mahomes being 0-4. No, sorry.
Yeah.
No, well, in the last year, he did beat the Bengals in 2018.
Yeah.
But
Back
against the Joe
Kareem Hunt was on that team, by the way.
But against the Joe Burrow Bengals, 0-4. That'd be tough, man. And I think they'd be pissed off. And you don't want to have to say that they'd be pissed off because it seems like common knowledge. Yeah, they'd be pissed off and they want to beat the Bengals. And of course, you want to win a playoff game. But I think there would be a little bit of extra motivation given this team celebrated on your field last year and won the AFC Championship, played in the Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl that this Chiefs team knows if they were in, they would have won that game. And they totally deserve to be there, not the Bengals. The Bengals always felt a year early when they went to that game. They felt a year early when they went to the AFC Championship game last year. But because the Chiefs made mistakes and played down to their competition and played stupid football, they allowed the Bengals to do that. And eventually you just got to get the monkey off your back. And I think hopefully fourth time's the charm.
Man, I really hope so because I don't think I could stomach another loss to the Bengals. If we beat the Bengals this year and go to a Super Bowl, I care about last year, but I really don't care about last year. Like you were able to right your wrongs, avenge your previous loss. We'll always think back to that game and be a little disappointed, but if they can win this year, we're not going to dwell too much on last year's loss, but I think it's going to be a game of the ages. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams are in the 30s or 40s. And selfishly, I want them to be in this game because if the Bengals are in the AFC Championship game or any team other than the Bills, the Chiefs are going to have that game at home. I want that game to be at home because I will get to go to that game and work in that game. And if the Chiefs somehow were able to win the AFC Championship game, I get to push the confetti stuff on the field after the game. So I really want them to get it done this year, selfishly. But I think that they're going to have a good chance because, I mean, Josh, you win one game, you're in the AFC Championship game. You win 2 games, and you're there.
Yeah, you're in the Super Bowl. Like, just win 2 more games. And if there's one discouraging thing about the Chiefs, they're 6-2 against playoff opponents this year, but they're 0-2 against 2021 playoff opponents, and they're 0-2 against two of the other toughest teams in the AFC, the Bills and the Bengals. They lost to both of them this year. But I hope that it's almost kind of like how the Patriots would do back during their prime Tom Brady years and Bill Belichick, where they would always lose to teams in the regular season and then end up beating them in the postseason. Like I remember the Chiefs would always have the Patriots number in the regular season, but in the postseason, the Patriots would always win because they were the better team. They were better coached. And I hope that's the case for the Chiefs. Now, you can't say that as of lately because the Bengals have beat them multiple times and they beat them in the playoffs last year, but hopefully things have changed.
Yeah. So why don't we get to the Super Bowl prediction and then we'll talk about the Chiefs a little bit more afterwards. But
yeah,
our Super Bowl 57 down in the place that the Chiefs won earlier this year against the Cardinals, Super Bowl 57 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. I think we actually didn't have any pick that varied from each other. I think we have the exact same bracket from top to bottom, which I kind of wish there was a difference, but I mean, great minds think alike, and we're normally pretty in tune with what each other think. And this game, man, a rematch of Super Bowl 54, it'd be a great game. I think that, with all that the 49ers have going for them, the Chiefs beat the ever-living crap out of the 49ers earlier this season. Granted, it was a much different team, but I also think that this game will be a lot closer. But the Chiefs, I do think, are the better team. Whether that equates to a win, I'm not sure. But I think that the Chiefs against the 49ers, given that Brock Purdy will be the starting quarterback, unless he somehow gets injured, I do think that the Chiefs will take care of business against a team that is great, but doesn't have that quarterback. I think Brock Purdy's a fine piece. Mr. Irrelevant now became Mr. Relevant. But, man, Patrick Mahomes versus Brock Purdy, I think it's going to come down to a quarterback matchup, and I don't think that Brock Purdy wins that at any point. So I do think the Chiefs will see a spike from their defense. Their offense will be more consistent, and I think that, they might not beat the brakes off the 49ers like they did earlier this season, but I do think that they will win this game.
Yeah, most of the time, the team with the better quarterback play wins the Super Bowl or wins these big playoff matchups. I remember Matt Verderam tweeted something earlier this week. He works for Arrowhead Addict. He tweeted, what's the craziest quarterback? What's the craziest or most lopsided quarterback matchup where the lesser quarterback actually won? And there's been a few times where it's happened, and this would be one of those where it's like, how the hell did Brock Purdy beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl? That's not a loss that can happen. Like the 49ers, yes, they're a very good team, much like they were when they had Jimmy Garoppolo back in 2019 when the Chiefs faced them in the Super Bowl. But Brock Purdy has less games under his belt. He's far less experienced. Even before Jimmy Garoppolo was a starting QB for the Niners, he spent years learning behind Tom Brady and played in some games for the Patriots. And Brock Purdy beating Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, that's not something that you can afford to happen. Not only do I think it's ridiculous, but it's not something you can afford to happen. Like that would be an embarrassing loss for this team, this organization. Again, I respect the Niners as an opponent. They're a very good team. And I think it would be awesome if we got a Chiefs-Niners 2019 rematch in the Super Bowl. But the Chiefs, I would pick them to win that game. They also have to win that game. And yeah, they creamed them earlier this season, and they played really well against them. And Frank Clark, of all people, actually was making Trent Williams look like Orlando Brown from earlier this season. So hopefully we play that game and we get prime Frank Clark again. We get Patrick Mahomes throwing dimes to MVS and Juju like he was in that game. That was actually a crazy game. That game earlier this year, actually, it was the first time in the Mahomes era where two receivers had 100 yards in the same game. MVS and Juju both had over 100 yards in that game versus the Niners.
Yeah, I just think that the Chiefs, I can't pick against the Chiefs. Now, some people might say, oh, Michael, you're a homer. But when you have Patrick Mahomes and when you have a team that already has the 1 seed, it's not like the Chiefs are the 6th seed right now, guys. The Chiefs are the 1 seed, and they're the 1 seed for a reason. They win games. And I think that, a lot of people might call bias, but I have no reason to pick against the Chiefs. They've always shown that they are worthy of a selection. And I think when it comes time to win these big games, the Chiefs have the playoff experience. I saw something along the lines of if you take all of the quarterbacks besides like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, or maybe it was all the quarterbacks in the AFC, they have like one more combined game than Patrick Mahomes does entirely. Like, he has that experience. He's won when it matters. Josh Allen can't say that. Joe Burrow can kind of say that, but even he didn't win when it ultimately mattered. So I think that the Chiefs have that advantage because you have the MVP on your team. You're going to have a chance to win Super Bowls. And I think that this year, it almost seems fitting that the same season that you lose Tyreek Hill and you lose Tyrann Mathieu, Mahomes comes back pissed off, wins the MVP, and marches his team through the playoffs and wins a freaking Super Bowl. It just seems fitting.
Yeah, and also I like the Chiefs defense, even though we've been very frustrated with them a lot this year. They have a higher ceiling. They're very young, but in this game, I really like them if they were to match up with the Niners in the Super Bowl because we know the Niners running game is very feared, and it still is. And you have Christian McCaffrey back there, and you got to worry about him. But the Chiefs' run defense has been a pleasant surprise this year. They've been very good. They've been better. I think this is the best run defense they've had since Steve Spagnuolo took the job a few years ago. And even when they won in 2019, like that run defense was just not very good. And the Chiefs actually ultimately ended up running for more yards than the Niners in that game, which was surprising. But I'd have to go back and look. I think the Damian Williams like 38-yard touchdown run to end the game probably is what pushed them past the Niners in rushing yards in that game. But the Chiefs the Chiefs running defense is actually very solid this year, and I think that would be a tough matchup for the Niners. Actually, is the Chiefs running defense, and you have a lot more willing tacklers on this defense than you've had since the last time these two teams faced off in the Super Bowl.
I want to address this comment really quickly because it actually looks like there's a 49ers fan in here. He says that definitely have to respect the Chiefs, but the Niners are overloaded with talent. You could say the same thing that happened in Super Bowl 54, and look what the result of that game was. They had all the talent. They were the best defense in the league. They had an offense that was scoring at will. I mean, they beat the Packers without Jimmy Garoppolo throwing more than 10 passes. Like, they were able to basically do whatever they want, and they walked into the Super Bowl. But I think that at the end of the day, the biggest discrepancy was between quarterbacks. That was the difference. And the Chiefs won that game. And yeah, the Niners probably had more talent, but it didn't equate to a victory. The Niners might be a more talented team than the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think they will beat 15 if he's playing his best football. It's just not going to happen. Saw it earlier this year. I understand that the teams are different and the Niners are better, but keep in mind the Niners went to overtime against Jarrett Stidham like 2 weeks ago. So let's not say that the 49ers are this juggernaut that we can't take down.
Yeah, and the Chiefs, last year, Patrick Mahomes, he was, before that meltdown against the Bengals, and I don't know why it happened. I don't really feel like talking about it again. But before that meltdown against the Bengals in the second half, Patrick Mahomes was having one of the best postseasons ever for a quarterback. And I do believe there is a switch that he can flip when it comes postseason. Really the team in general. Now, I've said that I got frustrated like when they were going to overtime with the Texans and stuff because, yeah, I do believe a little bit that they weren't really trying so hard in those games. Now, I was frustrated because they were turning the ball over, and it's not like they were turning the ball over because they weren't trying. It's not like Juju and Pacheco when they fumbled against the Texans. They go, well, we're not trying in this game, so let me just fumble right here. But I think there is a switch that flips on when this team gets into the postseason. We saw that last year because they weren't really playing super hot last year towards the end of the season either. They had that really lazy game against the Denver Broncos that they squeaked out where Drew Lock was still starting for them. They also lost to the Bengals. We talked about that. So I do believe this team has a switch that it can flip, and I do believe Mahomes can go God mode in the postseason. And I think he would if he reached another Super Bowl and went up against the San Francisco 49ers team. And I also think this 49ers pass rush is worse personnel-wise than it was in that 2019 Super Bowl. They replaced DeForest Buckner with Javon Kinlaw, and Javon Kinlaw is no DeForest Buckner. And the Chiefs' offensive line has vastly improved since 2019. Austin Ryder was their starting center for that game. Stefan Wisniewski, who should have been retired, was starting in that game. So, like, I just think the Chiefs match up really well against the 49ers, actually, and Brock Purdy has been a great story, but he would not beat Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl, in my opinion.
It would take a lot. It would take a Legion of Boom type performance from their defense to beat the Chiefs, and I just don't see it.
The
I
Chiefs
think
pass
that,
rush, one more thing, the Chiefs pass rush, too. Like, they were second in the league in sacks this year. They've taken a huge step forward. Yes, they do blitz a lot, but their front four has definitely stepped it up down the stretch here. I mean, George Karlaftis ended the year with 6.5 sacks. I did not see that coming from him. Carlos Dunlap has been an amazing signing for this team. Frank Clark, by Frank Clark standards, has been playing better this year. So
when the bar is like down here and you're actually like not like the worst you could possibly be, he's actually been decent. So the pass rush has definitely been a bright spot. And I think that, the Chiefs overall right now, if they played this game tomorrow, I would pick the Chiefs to win this game. And I think that both of us picking the Chiefs to win Super Bowl 57 in Arizona, it might come off as homerish, but I think that we've earned the rights as Chiefs fans to pick the Chiefs every year because, I mean, they've been to the Super Bowl 2 out of the last 3 seasons, and they've been in the AFC Championship game for 4 consecutive years. So they're going to be there. And when you have that shot and you have Patrick Mahomes, eventually it's going to hit, and it's hit before, and I think it'll hit again.
Yeah, and Cool Sense, he actually said he is a Niners fan. He's assuming the Niners will be in the Super Bowl, and he also assumes the Chiefs will be there too. That's great. Good to see we actually have a Niners fan in here. That's kind of neat. But I also wanted to address another comment from Willie Vassar. He says, "At Josh, are y'all overlooking the Bills?" No, I don't think we're overlooking the Bills. The Bengals are hot, man. I don't think there's any shame in picking the Bengals over the Bills. And look at Lucas Murphy in the chat tonight.
Shout out
Good to see
Lucas.
him.
Shout out Lucas. We'll have to get him on when the Chiefs ultimately win the whole thing again, because that'd be a hell of a post-game show.
I really I'd miss Lucas's everlasting optimism when the Chiefs were playing these close games against the Texans and Broncos. Because I remember, man, I miss those days because we would talk about the Chiefs and me and you were freaking out. We're over here like fire Spags. Maybe Andy needs to be on the hot seat. And Lucas, he would calm us down.
Yeah, we need that. And I think that if the Chiefs play their game in this postseason, I have no doubts that they'll go back. It's just, are we going to see the Chiefs team that turns the ball over at a frequent rate? If we see that, it could be rough. But I do think that they did correct some things in terms of turning the ball over against the Raiders. It's going to need to be proven in this postseason. But kind of like you said, the entire team just kind of flips the switch. I don't know why they can't take the regular season seriously, but it's almost like, yeah, we're just going to run through it and we're going to try our best. But at the same time, like, we know that our legacy comes alive in January and February. And it doesn't really matter what you do in December as long as you get to January and you're at full health and you're just ready to explode. And I think the Chiefs are going to come out with a fire. And listen, their first game, according to us, is the Jaguars. You could beat the Jaguars. You're in the AFC Championship game. Once you're in the AFC Championship game, it's going to be a very interesting situation between the Bengals. But, I mean, you're one game away from the Super Bowl. And then again, you're one game away, if you win that game, from winning the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs really put themselves in a great position by winning that first round bye. And only time will tell, but I think that they're really going to have a good shot at winning the whole thing this year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there are 2 big factors with the Chiefs that will tell you whether or not they're going to make a Super Bowl run. Taking care of the ball and being able to get to the quarterback. Those were the 2 biggest reasons why they were not able to get to the Super Bowl last year. I trust the offense to do its thing. This offense was the number 1 scoring offense in the league this year, and I think they can take it to another level in the postseason. I'm not worried about them. I'm not worried about Patrick Mahomes in the offense. I'm worried about this team taking care of the ball, and I'm worried about whether or not this pass rush can come alive in the postseason. If those 2 things can come to fruition, Chiefs will have no problem. They will cruise to a Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they do have a lot of inexperience on defense, but they've been able to be okay this season. The defense has gotten better as the season's progressed. And I mean, the defense wasn't great the year they won the whole thing. And I think that it's definitely a little bit better this year. And the production from the pass rush has been phenomenal. And as long as Patrick Mahomes continues to play at that MVP level, I think they're going to have a really good shot. So, Josh, do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add one more thing about the defense. I mean, yeah, they're younger. They've been inconsistent. We've been frustrated with them this year, but like, I just think they have a much higher ceiling. And you got like Trent McDuffie. I think he's an X factor this postseason because last year you didn't have a Trent McDuffie type player in the secondary that could take out another team's really good receiver. I mean, you have L'Jarius Sneed, but Mike Hughes was playing on the other side of him. Mike Hughes was a disaster last year. Instead, you have Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie has had a great rookie season. Willie Gay, you got him, Nick Bolton, Justin Reed, who can actually stick his head in there and make a tackle, unlike a certain Kansas City safety. Or former Kansas City safety, I should say. So I have faith in this defense. This pass rush it's so much more capable. It's not just Chris Jones and Frank Clark anymore. It's Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Carlos Dunlap, and even a little bit of Colin Saunders too.
Yeah, I think that all things considered, the Chiefs are going to have that opportunity. And when you got Patrick Mahomes and you got Andy Reid, you're always going to have a chance to win. So, Josh, I think that we both have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Not really a surprise. The channel's called KC Sports Report. What did you think was going to happen? But I do think that we gave good rationale in all of our picks. We didn't differ on a single one of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills were able to beat the Bengals or there were some other upsets, but I'm pretty confident in where we stand. And I think that it's going to be a really interesting playoffs. Maybe we're entirely wrong, but right now I'm confident in those picks. So, Josh, before we get out of here, where can people find you?
You can find me here on YouTube. Just type in my name, Josh Fan. You can follow me on Twitter at ChiefandSD or Show Me Football at ShowMeFB. And then lastly, you can check out my work on ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com.
Guys, all of his stuff is already linked in the description of this video. As for me, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but you're watching this video, so I kind of assume that you are. Go check out the website, kcsportsreport.com. I am writing more articles for that site. So if you want to hear some of my thoughts on like John Ross or Harrison Butker's recent problems, go ahead and click the link and read what I have to say about that. You can check out my Instagram is KC_Sports Report and Twitter is at KC Sports Report. We'll definitely be on here talking about the Chiefs opponent once we find that out. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video and go Chiefs.